My partner, 34M, committed suicide and now I, 34F, feel broken, unsupported and invalidated. My partner took his own life around 2 months ago. He struggled with severe mental illness and I stayed with him until the cops told me to leave our home for my own safety. I was the last person he chose to speak to and I still grieve for him every day. He left behind minor children from a previous marriage who I absolutely love and adore. Now that the dust is about to settle, his former partner is wanting all of his insurance money and is denying me access to it despite the insurer's decision of me getting a small portion of it. It feels like a stab in the chest being minimized and invalidated, especially when I was the only one who stayed behind when everyone else abandoned him at his lowest points. I know that if I keep fighting for myself, I would lose access to his children and it breaks my heart. And if I give everything up, I won't have the resources to help pay for going back to university to study mental health, as I developed a passion for it while caring for my mentally ill partner. It is a lose-lose situation all around, but I need help in seeing my situation outside of myself to come up with the strength to do the right thing. Edit, just for everyone's information, first, yes, we had been in a relationship for only 6 months. The first 4 months of which were great and we saw the children once a week or a fortnight, depending on their availability. He relapsed the last 2 months with alcohol, which led to suicide. And second, the insurer has already decided that I get a small portion, 10%, of the death benefit, which the ex-partner is currently contesting. Insurance money is to replace the lost income of the deceased. In this case that would go to his kids and ex who is raising them. Life insurance isn't a consolation prize for being a good person, and as an ex of 6 months, you really have no claim to his potential unearned income. Sorry for your loss. Lady, not to be rude but you sound selfish as hell. As someone who lost their dad at a young age, those kids and their mom will need everything they can get. So what if you were there for him? It doesn't entitle you to money, especially for a 6-month-long relationship. It's valid that you are grieving but invalid that you want money he left for his kids. I genuinely thought they were together for several years and gasped when I read the 6 months. I don't mean to be insensitive, but I couldn't imagine knowing someone for only 6 months and after a tragedy like this happens having the main concern be how to access his insurance money. I'm sorry for your loss, but please think about how hard this must be for his kids and their mother as well. I'd like to understand why you and his insurer think that you are entitled to his money. Get back here and answer for your crimes. Okay, not to take away from the pain of his death, for that I hope you seek grief counseling and get the help you need, but since you're here asking for advice, your prior posts show you were only together for 6 months. His ex-wife and his minor children that she is raising, now without their father, deserve all of the money. You may benefit from getting free schooling, and if you want to study mental health and help more people later, that's great. But that doesn't help his actual kids that you love so much right now. I would 100% want any insurance money to go to the now fatherless minor children he left behind. As for access to them, again, if you were only with him for 6 months, weren't married, and presumably they mainly lived with their mother, then the amount of time you spent with them was minimal. Then I don't think having continued access to them is necessarily in their best interest either. Asking for a chance to spend some time with them before saying goodbye, maybe the opportunity to send cards for special occasions, etc. But if giving continued access to essentially a legal stranger, that's what not married is, they knew for several months is not what their mother wants to do, that's her prerogative. Again, I'm sorry you went through this, and I hope you do get the support you need. The short length of time you were together does not make your pain invalid, but it does make a great impact on these separate issues of money and excess. For your Reddit, yeah, no. You should not be getting 10% of the money going to his fatherless children because you dated their father for a few months. Kids you saw 10x. Take back my no offense in a prior comment. That is criminal. I can't believe believe you think you're entitled to take money from his children. It's not like they're tacking on an extra 10% for you. You're literally taking it from them. Awful. Holy crap. My F28 husband's M30 older brother, M35, confessed that he's in love with me. What the hell do I do? This happened last week. I am still shocked and have no idea what to do with this information. Little backstory: my husband and I have been friends since I was in middle school, so we've known each other, and each other's families, forever. We started dating after college and got married 2 years ago. Let's call my husband Greg and his older brother Michael. I've obviously known Michael just as long as I've known Greg, but in that vague, peripheral way you know a friend's older brother. He was already well into college by the time I met and started hanging out with Greg, so until we got married, I hadn't had a lot of contact with him except for holidays when everyone was home. Michael and his wife, let's call her Stephanie, have been separated for over a year and are in the process of getting divorced. He primarily cares for their 6-year-old son. Stephanie moved out of state. Michael is an ER physician and has been insanely busy since COVID started, especially since their son's daycare is still closed. Since I'm able to work remotely, I've stepped in to help out with babysitting. As a result, I've had more interaction with Michael, but still, it's not much. Just him getting home exhausted from work, saying thanks. Me saying some version of no worries, happy to spend time with my nephew. And then I leave. Nothing romantic, no ulterior motives, nothing weird. Then, last week, as I was gathering up my laptop and stuff getting ready to go home, Michael said, "Hey, I really need to talk to you about something that's been bugging me." I honestly thought it was going to be that I had done something wrong in caring for his son, letting him do/eat something he wasn't supposed to or something like that. But then, he essentially told me that he's been in love with me for years, and that his feelings toward me were a contributing factor in him leaving Stephanie, and seeing me with his son and coming home to me every night has been wonderful. He then said, "I understand you're with Greg, but I had to tell you how I feel." I sort of blacked out from shock, mumbled something about needing to get home, and left. I can't stress enough how little one-on-one contact Michael and I have had. I don't think I've ever even hugged him. If you added up all the words we've ever spoken to each other, it might comprise a 30-minute conversation. He's almost like a father/teacher figure to me. Certainly don't feel the same way about him and am blown away that not only is he apparently in love with me, but I was a contributing factor in his divorce. Which means Stephanie knows how he feels. Because I know some problematic people will ask, no, I have never led him on, worn anything even remotely revealing in front of him, texted him about anything other than childcare logistics, or spent more than 10 minutes alone with him. I'm honestly more confused than anything because, from my perspective, he knows nothing about me, like we barely talk. How the hell can he think he's in love with me? I've avoided him entirely since it happened, saying I had a bunch of meetings and couldn't babysit last week, which I feel really guilty about because I love spending time with my nephew. I haven't told anyone else, especially my husband. Please help. This is so far above my pay grade, and probably above Reddit's as well, but have no idea what to do. I don't want to cause a weird rift between brothers, or not be able to see my nephew anymore. Any advice is welcome. Thanks. Too long didn't read. My husband's older brother confessed he's been in love with me for years and his feelings for me were the cause of his divorce. Please help. Tell your husband what's going on and explain that's why you've been dodging his brother. Bill may think he's in love, but most likely is using what he thinks he knows about you as an ideal to hold up for his failed marriage. This, as you've pointed out, Bill barely knows you. He's created an idea of you in his mind and fallen in love with it. This sometimes happens when people are unhappy in their lives and close themselves off from being involved in the people around them. He was likely unhappy with his wife and during that time continued to imagine a life with you, building you up into someone you have never been. Be sure to mention this to your husband. I think that your Bill needs clear boundaries, but not a kick in the teeth. He likely needs therapy. Maybe Michael isn't in love with you. I'm not saying you're not a catch, but maybe he's in love with the idea of you. Do you know why his marriage ended? But perhaps he saw you and Greg together and was thinking about how you don't fight or how you look happy together, etc., etc., and saw those things missing in his marriage. It could be just more of a crush than an actual "I've loved you since day one." But you need to tell your hubby ASAP. You don't want him to find out from your soon-to-be ex still calling him saying it's your wife's fault my marriage is over. Step 1. Show husband this Reddit post. The information is going to cross husband's path eventually, and it's really important that you're the one to tell him. You don't want him finding out plus finding out you know plus you elected not to tell him. Tell your husband. The brother needs called out on his stupidity. Sounds like he's had a tough run, might got a bit too intense and found comfort in any female in close proximity. It happens. Gotta tell your husband everything. This insignificant thing about my boyfriend drives me crazy and I don't know if it's a deal breaker. My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years, we're both in our early 20s. I've noticed he never lets me have the better half of things, and it makes me feel like he doesn't really care about how I feel. Like, I always give him the bigger slice of pizza, the bigger cookie. Not just those, but if we make biscuits and only one isn't burnt, he'd take the only good one for himself. When I get a salad and ask if he wants to try it, he'll eat all the toppings off and leave me the lettuce. Just now I hadn't eaten all day and made 2 sweet potatoes, planned to save one for later, and he'd eaten loads already today. He asked if he could have one and grabbed the big one. One was tiny and one was much larger. It just hurts me because it's such an insignificant thing, but it makes me so annoyed. I don't even know how I'd talk to him about it because I just feel like I'm starting a petty argument. How can I even approach the subject, or is it a deal breaker? I feel like I'm overreacting, but I don't really know. He's always been like this and everything else is great. It just makes me feel he's a bit selfish. I mean, zoom out. Does he tend towards selfishness in other areas of his life or your relationship? For X, when you're choosing a restaurant or movie, during intimacy, etc. Does he treat his friends the same way? His family? In one of my relationships, I first noticed he never asked me to pick movies or TV shows. It felt petty bringing it up. Then I zoomed out and realized our relationship was actually really lopsided when I really thought about it. Take some time to reflect. I just realized how spot on you are. It's not just about the food. He's selfish all around. He picks the restaurant/movie/etc. and doesn't even ask me unless he doesn't know what he wants. He never reciprocates gifts and is incredibly stingy. All the food he takes, I pay for, and he never shares his. He never goes down on me but expects that from me. I guess all these things are correlated and I never realized it. I can't even remember the last time he paid for us when we went out, or offered me the better side of anything. He's being inconsiderate and selfish. It's not a deal breaker as long as you address it and he corrects this behavior. If he doesn't know about it being an issue for you, then he can't possibly change anything, can he? Have a conversation, not an argument. You could also change your behavior. Stop giving him the good one. Say no if he wants to try some and explain that you're saving it for later, as in the sweet potato example you gave. Look after yourself and keep your expectations of him realistic. Good luck. Yes, just take the larger/unburned piece. Don't offer to share anymore. You've let him roll over you too much. If he has a problem with it, he'll bring it up. I'll bet he'll say you're becoming selfish all of a sudden. Whatever the case, it'll be good for you too.